Ladies and gentlemen, the Madness Entertainment Group presents Put the Comic Artist Hour with Les Garner.
Folks,
What?
it is Wednesday. It is another Wednesday, and we're here making comics. So,
The dude is back.
got my tea, and got a page here that I'm doing some colors on. So normally I don't do my own color. Well, I shouldn't say that. I do a fair amount of my own colors, but on this project I'm not normally the colorist, but there was a couple of pickup pages that were asked for, and for the sake of time, they're having me go ahead and do colors on them. So y'all get to look at a little bit of the process I use for doing colors. Right now, I am working on something that I pull a term from the 3D stuff that I do. In 3D, we got a thing we call clown maps, and it's a way of isolating sections of a model's texture by having a map that goes on it that has bright high contrast colors for different sections that make it easy to select those. Well, the same thing works on a comic book page, and a lot of times this is something that people do when they're flatting, which is, flatting is putting in the flat colors for different objects and sections. So I tend to, when I'm flatting, I actually just do what I'm calling a clown map. So I have these really bright, really contrasty colors that I can use to delineate sections from each other. And you'll see as I get going what that will do for me. So here I'm just taking this this tool. This is this guy right here. It's my, what is it called? Yeah, it's lasso fill. And I'm putting this orange in here. And what that's going to do is when I go to actually like paint into these areas with color, I'll be able to set this layer to the target layer so that I can select these colors really easy. Right now, if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, that's okay, because it'll make sense shortly. In the meantime, you're going to see some techniques that are kind of cool for dealing with all this kind of stuff. So we'll go in and put me some yellow in here where there's this big blast of light. Doop. And see any other big blasts of light? Not really. Then I'm going to use some blue. Now here's a little trick right here where I just did that yellow in here, and I want to fill most of this area back here with blue. I'm going to make a new layer and drag it under that one so that I can just use that tool to color that entire area. And anywhere else that I need that color of blue. Here, I'm going to grab my paint bucket. And you can see here I have it set to reference layer, and all my inks are in a folder, and that folder is set to be the reference layer. So from there, I should be able to click right in here, and it'll just fill stuff inside based on neighboring pixels inside the reference layer that it sees. So this is a really, really handy little thing that Clip Studio can do. And then I'll come in and just kind of fill some other stuff with that. But it's a quick way of being able to basically paint inside the lines really easily. So I'm just using this for that nighttime, to kind of delineate the sky. Okay. There we go. What color am I going to delineate the table and the paper with? Let's do a pink right there. So using that paint bucket, I can click and just keep dragging. And so whatever color it was hitting when I started to drag, it keeps filling that area in. So like right now I'm clicking in an area that has a white or empty pixels, and it's just filling that in. And then when I want to come in and really fill in the rest right there, an area like this is easy to lasso, is going to be faster that way. So let's do that and that. Then we're going to come in here. See, I like using that bucket to get the stuff that goes up to the, that goes up to the edge of something else. And also something to notice with the bucket is I have area scaling turned on. So what that does is in printing, it would be called a trap. That's where you want the color here to bleed under that black a little bit so you don't accidentally end up getting some white areas. So by having that turned on, you'll get that little bleed that really makes it fill in and keeps you from having any white artifacting. So then I'm going to come in here and fill that in a little bit. So now let's do this paper. Now here's a nifty little trick that I use a lot if I'm inking something that I've drawn and I've drawn digitally. So like right here, I can't do that there because I have the wood of that in the same layer with that newspaper. So no, ixnay on that trick. But what we can do, we're going to go ahead and choose a color for that coffee cup. There's my bucket. There's my bucket. And
That's really good with the Madness logo on it. Oh shit!
That was
I just got a coffee
quick
cup in the
fill.
mail. Bro. I just got a coffee cup in the mail. The new Madness logo on the banner.
Cool.
On a coffee cup, because the last one I had was the old logo. I got the new logo, the new coffee cup. Yeah, it's available on the Meg TV website right now. $10, $10 for a coffee cup, yo, $10.
See there, I added another layer underneath there so I could just drop that color right in. Boom.
You want to see how it looks, Flash?
Sure.
I can show you how it looks. It looks really good. I was blown away, man. Check this out.
Just a second here.
Oh, these are beautiful.
What you got going on? Oh, that's sweet, dude. I like
Aren't
that.
those beautiful? It's like, I was like, oh, yeah. Nice, solid cup.
That's cool.
You know. Yeah. Get you one. $10, yo.
Let's see. Now I need something with a real contrast to it for that newspaper. Doesn't matter what color it is because it's just going to be used for making a selection. So then we can do that. And actually, I should be able to just, yep. All right. Yeah, this is actually the hardest part of coloring, I think. It's just getting this stuff all flatted in here. Let's see. We need to grab that. Now I hold the Alt key down, and that gives me a color picker, so I can just click somewhere and get that other color. Then we can grab that. Now I know that steam coming off of that is in another layer. It better be in another layer. Has to be. Okay, cool. So here I can control click on that layer, and it makes a selection of it, which makes life so much easier when doing colors. So let's go ahead and merge these back together. And then let's see. Let's grab a color to use for that. And let's do just this super light yellow, and then fill. Okay. And up here, we're going to need to do that to this one. Oop. So this has some breaks in it right there. So I'm going to change this from the reference layer to all layers. And I'm just going to fill that in that way. So there's that. Then I'm going to use that same color for the steam up there. Doink. And all these colors I'm using, again, you know, they really don't matter as far as what they look like right now, because the point of them is not to color anything right now, but to give me areas that or colors that I can use as selections. So like there's that. All of these background elements that I know I'm going to be doing some general coloration too. We'll do that way. Let's grab that and go right here. Doink. Doink. There we go. So that's not bad. So I got some tricksy stuff I'll be pulling with some of this. You shall see here momentarily. Let's see, there's that. And then let's merge with layer below. Doink, doink. Get that and that. And then I need some colors for all that cloth. Let's drag that underneath there. So now that should make everything pretty easily selectable. I'm going to merge those back together and then take my pen and go back through and tweak out any of these anywhere that it feels like it needs it. Let's take a nice fat pen brush here. And here in a second, I will show you what this looks like on its own without the ink in there. And I think it's always kind of hilarious to see this. So let's give this little guy some color in here just to set him apart so he can be easily selected. Okay. There we go. Little hat. Let's use color picker and grab some of that. We'll clean this up a bit. There we go. And we'll grab that skin tone. And it's actually getting down kind of granular here, but you know, we shall do what we got to do. Let's see. I want that there for lighting. So, boom, 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 boom. Do that, do that. So there we start to get some of that built up. Okay. I don't normally do little granular stuff like that with the eyes and things, but in this case, I'm also gonna do it with her hair because I don't feel like having to select that later. All right. Do. Pardon me. First on-air yawn of the day. Let's see. Let's make this gap that it closes smaller, and I'll be more likely to pick up stuff that I need. Oh, that was a bit much. Okay. That up. Yeah. So if anybody watching has any questions, feel free to pop them off. A little hard for me to monitor the chat while I'm doing this, but if y'all have any questions, just let me know. So,
Don't worry. If anybody says anything, I got you.
Cool. All right. Now then, I'm just putting some random dots in here.
Tea
Just
break.
one of those.
Time
What's
for
that?
tea. Have you a big
Okay.
old swig of tea?
Yep. Really is time. So now that I have all this stuff blocked in like that, I do think I want to come in here and delineate a couple pieces of this. So let's go here and see what that does. Okay. Yeah, it's going to help me get some of that blocked off. Oh, good times. Good times. Okay. So I think that's enough for mapping out the areas that need to be colored. Looks like I overtrapped something here on the white, but I'll show you what it looks like without that. So let's turn you back on, turn you off. So there's what that looks like without the line work. And you can see, it's kind of like, always reminds me of construction paper. So then I'm going to set this layer, I'll call that my clown layer, which you can see why I call it that because of how garish the colors I use for that are. But now that I have that, I'm going to set it to be the reference layer. Okay. And then we're going to add a new, there's so many different ways we could go about dealing with this now. Let's turn this guy off. And then we are going to add a gradient. So on something like this, which is kind of a period piece, because this is like the late 30s, I believe, I'm going to start off with a gradient layer. So let's do a new layer and gradiente. Then from in here, let's do, excuse me. Let's do that. And then I'm going to hit OK. And then from there, we can move this tool around. and control the direction of that gradient, which I'm going to come over here and pull a few different pieces out of it because I want something a little different. There we go. So now that I have a gradient there, go ahead and up there. Let's see. So notice, you can't even see that clown layer now, but that's okay because it's not really for that. So to be seen, if I take my wand, or if I take my bucket and set it to reference layer, and so now if I come in here and I'm going to do this, I've got this palette of sepia watercolors, and now if I use the bucket with it referencing that clown layer, then if I were to turn off apply to connected pixels only, it should, come on now, there we go. So my tolerance is too high. If I turn my tolerance down, now it should grab just her.
We just got raided by a whole bunch of people over on Pilled from Neo's channel. And she dropped some shades on us. What's up, Neo? And everybody. Man, there's a whole bunch of them, bro. Like 40 people just popped in over on Pilled, man.
Cool.
Everybody. What's happening? This is Les Garner, and he draws cool stuff.
Howdy, y'all. Yep, that's me doing my job, drawing things.
Oh, yeah. And he's good at it, guys. He's one of the best.
Now then. Let's come back here and grab that color. I'm going to use that for that mug. There we go. Now I may need to add some tones to this sepia palette. There we go. Now let's just click on that, and that should give me a newspaper. So you see how when I'm clicking on just on a newspaper now, it changes it everywhere because I told it with those colors every place that was for that. So now whenever I hit it with my bucket, it's going to fill all of those. It's a very nifty little trick. All right, see right there, that background element, all those background elements. Now I got that brown that I wanted. And I think I'm going to try the table with having that brown as well. Then let's come back in over here. There's that. That's kind of cool. And let's do that. And nice. So now then we've got, so there's our gradient right there. And then here's the colors that we just filled in all of that with. Oh, I need to grab her hair, and then I need to put some blue, or actually some clear in that. So let's change that. Come on now. Ah, that's what's up with that. let's come in here, grab some blue. That works. That works. So most of that is going to end up being kind of muted anyway, which I'm good with. All right, now we're just kind of cleaning up a couple of spots here and there. Okay. And let's add a layer, bring it underneath. Okay. Now then, y'all, we're going to turn the inks off for a second. And I want that right there to go empty. Okay, there we go. So merge with layer below. Then I need her hair to go. It's going to go brown for now, but it'll end up getting colored much lighter because she's supposed to be kind of older. Nope, don't do that. There we go. Now then, I'm going to, I think I want to get a slightly different version of this brown here. Drop that in here for her hair.
Can you, since we have so many people watching right now,
yeah,
can you tell people what book this is you're working on, or can you not?
This is actually page 1 of a book that I've been working on off and on for about a year now, called Oz, the Nightmare in Emerald. And I am super excited with this. Like we've this book was kind of done at one point, and then we got to looking back over some things, and the writer saw some opportunities to writer/publisher saw some opportunities to introduce a few things into it that would be kind of nice. And so we decided to kind of step back and make some changes and then move back forward by adding some things to it and making it even better and even more in depth. So this has been a nice project that way, because most of the time you don't really get to do that.
Now, which writer and publisher are you talking about?
What's that?
You work with a lot of different people.
Yeah, I do. So
you said writer, publisher, and 3 different names popped into my head.
Yeah. With this one, it's this one belongs to Rick at Resolute Bliss.
All right, yeah, that was one of them.
Yeah. All right. So now I've got kind of my base
Hi,
colors.
Raul, what's up? We got people popping in over on
in here.
YouTube side as well.
Now, one of the nifty things about having a gradient like this in here is that I've got kind of true color flats instead of just my clown map flats. So if we review a little bit, here's my clown map that allows me to make all these very easy selections and drop colors real easy, right? Then I drop my gradient over that kind of gives me a general tone for the whole page. Then I come back and I do straight flats. Now, those straight flats, actually, I'm going to drag under the gradient layer because then we can turn that gradient layer all the way down, the opacity all the way down, and watch what it does with those as I bring that up. So like, well, I wanted more of a nighttime thing going on up here. Of course, we can go two different ways with that too. We can keep that under there and turn those flat colors down just a touch, and you'll watch them picking up some of the color from underneath. And that starts to help build some of our shading already, which I kind of dig that.
Addie's over in the chat. She's getting excited. She said awesome details, ominous vibe with the colors, and ooh, technique. And it's like, yes, Addie, every week Les comes out here and he doesn't just do this, but he tells people what he's doing, how he's doing it, so that they can pick up the tricks too. He's not that guy that's hiding all the knowledge, right? Okay, so this is a great show to tune into if you use the digital. I mean, and I'm not saying Les can't do it all the other ways too.
Oh yeah,
he can.
Can do it traditional. No, here is the this is the price of admission trick right here, or one of them. I'm going to use this on some skin, but you can apply this all over the place, right? So, you know, I've talked about it a few times. I've got my clown map, right? So I've got her skin set up so that color is very easily selectable. Built my other layers. Now I've got an empty layer, and I've set this layer's blend to hard light. Then I'm going to take a wand, set it back to reference layer, turn off apply to connected only, and I'm going to click on her face because I know that clown map is waiting down there. So if I click here, give it a second. Okay, tolerance is kind of high on that, so let's turn the tolerance way down. And now I only have skin areas selected. Okay, actually, let's turn that tolerance down even further because it picked up some other stuff. I'm going to set that tolerance all the way to 0. And it should, it's kind of picking up some stuff there, which I'm a little curious as to why, but that's okay. Let's take a lasso and hold the Alt key and just remove that from the selection. And then I'm going to go in here.
Called Learning with Les.
That's funny. So right now I'm going back and forth between holding the Shift key and the Alt key. Shift will add to your selection and Alt will remove. So right now I'm primarily removing little bits that for some reason are kind of stray bits that got in my selection. But once I have that selection down to what I want, and I'm on this empty layer, I'm going to hit this button right here. It says Create Layer Mask. It's going to look like I just lost my selection and it didn't do anything. But if you look at the thumbnails here, you'll see there is a black and white thumbnail there, and that's a mask on this layer. So now, if I paint into here, like I can just paint kind of willy-nilly, and you'll see it fills in there just inside that mask. But what's nifty, I'm going to turn this back to normal, and let's grab this color right here. So I just flooded that with a color. I'm going to use something a little brighter so you can see. See how obvious that is, what I just did there, where that's covering that up? Well, I'm going to set that to hard light.
This is Clip Studio, right?
Yeah.
Clip Studio.
So I set that to hard light. I'm going to use a fairly large brush just to do some basic rendering in here. Okay. So, and this is where it gets kind of fun doing colors. So there, and I don't really have to worry about coloring inside the lines because I already masked that. Okay. Then I have a brush that I've called Soothing Watercolor, and I'm going to set the hardness down quite a bit on that. after I have painted that in there, and I'm going to use that to soften the edges of that up a little bit. So right now what I'm doing is I'm using the effect of having this set to hard light, okay, to go in and basically model in the highlight areas. So let's clear that, and I'm going to do that again. Having it set to hard light, this was kind of neat. If I alt click and select the color right here from her skin, which hopefully you can see that. I don't know if the gizmo for that shows up on camera or not, but there I'm selecting her skin. Now I'm going to paint into that hard light layer. And if you paint with the same color in hard light, you'll see what it does. It's a little more subtle. I don't know how well that'll show up on the stream, but a lot of times the first pass that I'll do in coloring, the getting the shaping and details worked in, will be this. It'll be using the same color but in a hard light mode, and it's really nifty what that does. I mean, you can see it lightens things up quite a bit. And so I'll come in and hit certain areas with it, kind of picking out highlights. Then we can go to our color picker and go a little brighter. And I tend to be kind of painterly with my colors anyway. I know some folks, you know, it's different folks like different things. I really like it when the colors are kind of painterly and kind of, I really like watercolors in lots of things actually. So there's that. Let's come in here and smooth some of this. And what you're seeing here is pretty much the techniques I use all through Brides. Brides was the last book that I had to color, and you know, that was mine. So that was just a thing. Let's go in here. Now I want to get some streaks and things in her hair. So I'm going to go back to my pencil, set my hardness there. Use about a 200 pixel size. And now we're going to go ahead and commit. Actually, let's do another layer. Set it to hard light. Then I'm going to take my magic wand and now, well, that kind of shooks. Yeah, I thought that spread too far over there. That's okay. We can deal with that. I'll just take my lasso and start cleaning up that selection area, which isn't that bad, actually. These things happen. Okay. Let's come up here and I'm going to select hair up here. I'm not entirely sure why that didn't get selected, but that's okay. We're going to drag a selection around that. Now then, I'm going to make a layer mask for that so that we can start to paint. So now I'll come in here and just get some highlights painted in here. Here I'm going to paint basically a rim light across the top of that. And right here, same sort of thing. And let's come in here and make sure we've got that hair color painted in. Oh, it's probably okay. Yeah, that's just yeah, it's there. It's just the gradient kind of showing through, doing its thing. Not a big deal. Not a problem. Okay. So then let's come in here and blend that out just a little bit. Come here, blend some of this out. Once you have a mask on there, that makes your life so much easier.
So, what do you think just came across my notifications and stuff?
No clue, man.
We got a show. A friend of ours, Chris, does a show with his cousin Ben called Big Sexy Outdoors. It's about, outdoorsy stuff, right? Hunting and fishing and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about. And I click on it so I can drop a like and a comment and take a little quick look at it, because that's what I'm supposed to do. It's kind of my job. And I look, and there he is talking about the Madness Roku Network. Thank you, Chris. Love you, dude. Spread the word, yo. Everybody.
Nice.
Gets it? Chris gets it. Spread the word, yo. Talk about it. Word of mouth.
This is kind This is kind of neat when you have that hard light layer and you're going to paint with the same color underneath it. Depending on the brightness or saturation of that color, it may do different things. So like with this particular color, it yields a richer sort of brown, which is kind of great. So I'm going to use that to go in here and drop in a little rendering on this stuff.
And Lou says that watercolor was the first medium that she used, and it's an easy favorite for her. And I can attest to the fact that the lady can paint with the watercolors and she does some awesome stuff, man. She did a Janis Joplin that was just. And a David Bowie. That's what got my attention. I think I saw her draw David Bowie or paint David Bowie, and I was like, "Oh crap, that's badass! Can you do Janis?" And she came back and did Janis like live on the shows, right, over a couple weeks time, and yeah, she can use the water. She really can.
Nice. Well, here you see some of that rendering working its way in there on the brown. And I'm going to reach over and pour myself some more tea. We
still have 25 people watching over on Bill. Thank you guys for hanging out, man. We appreciate you. Seriously.
Let's see here now. Now I'm probably going to start kind of winging it a little bit. Let's go in here with normal layer. Actually, I'm going to keep it set to that hard light. And I'm going to start doing some basic rendering, adding some hot spots around places where there's lamps and lights in here. So you'll see it kind of coming in here and filling out the street. Then let's go down to a smaller brush, and we're going to kind of do some little squiggles on here. That's going to help bring out the feeling of the wetness on that street. Then we're going to come back here in the distance and lighten that up. Maybe not quite that light. So this is where I'm starting to play with my brush density a little bit. And then see, brighten this area up here a little bit. It's going to feel like there's some light coming out of there. It's going to help set the kid off who's got the newspaper. Okay, now we're going to come in here and start shooting some light in here. And let's do that. And see, once you get to this point where I've got some of those colors and things showing through, you actually start to get a lot of leeway about those things, because actual light starts to wash out colors, and you can really play with some things that way. So like right here, I'm going to use this bright color that I have to really impress this kind of highlighting. And then let's come down here, and I'm going to put a really hard highlight right here on the edge of that coffee cup. And then I'm going to put a hard highlight right here. Let's see. And let's come in here and go a little harder with that. Turn the brush density up. What's really going to make this page pop is in the end when I do what's called knockouts for the steam and the lights. So right now we're focused on getting these highlight areas painted in, which, let's do that. Okay, here we go. And here's a good chance for me to reinforce the shape of the mug a little bit. So blend some of this down. It's funny because when you're coloring, I find that like the first 80 to 90% of the job feels like you're not getting anything done. And it's the last 10% that actually makes it really start to look like something. So then we want to reiterate, we've got a light source going across the paper here. So I'm going to come in here and brighten that up. Then let's see, let's come in here. We'll use this general brightness here to kind of make this stuff pop a little bit. So, okay. I think. No. To do what I need to do right there, I'm going to make a new layer and set it to hard light. Just paint a couple of streaks across there. Then I'm going to select just that big area. We're going to go into my quick effects, and I'm going to take a Gaussian blur, and I'm going to blur the snot out of what I painted there. And I'm going to turn it down quite a bit. So now all of this that I'm calling my rendering layers should be able to merge together. But the way that I'm going to merge those together is I'm going to turn off the ink layer. So there you can see what all the colors look like without the ink over it. I'm going to right click this top layer and go down to merge visible to new layer. So instead of collapsing all those layers together, I'm collapsing them into a new layer. So this is non-destructive. So I could go back at any point, turn this merged layer off, and make tweaks to all of those, which is really handy when editorial time comes, because I guarantee you, if not every page, definitely you're going to end up having pages that editors are going to want to change. So I'm just going to call that render. So there's my rendered layers, and I'm going to take all these other ones, select them all, right click and make a new folder, and I'm going to call that color build. So I know what's there, and I can just turn that off. So here we have our render layer. Now I'm going to do effects and knockouts, which effects and knockouts are fun. So since I drew this and inked it, I kind of know where a lot of this stuff sits, and it gives me some quick access to doing some neat tricks. So in Clip Studio, you can use this thing called layer selection. And with that tool, I can click on right here, and that gives me my steam coming off of there. Okay. So there's a number of different things I could do with that. But what I'm going to do is right click that layer and duplicate it. I'm going to drag a copy of it up here. Okay. So you see it's, you know, like that layer actually extended out past that stuff. So let's come in here with some transparent pixels and my lasso fill tool and just get rid of those. So now we have only what we need right there. Then let's set that to layer color, which you usually use. I use that a lot when I'm doing digital pencils so that I can turn things to blue line, to traditional blue line. But in this case, instead of having the darker color, which is on top, you know, that's the main color, and then here's the sub color. I'm going to use this to colorize these lines. So then I'm going to grab this top layer or this top color, and in my color picker, I'm going to choose something from the scene that kind of fits. And you see, like right there, gives me a lighter color. So my ink lines are still there, but now those ink lines are colored. This is like the fastest way I know to do knockouts. It's just crazy, crazy useful. So there is that. Then once you have your knockout colored like that, then I'll right click it and hit rasterize, or you can see I've customized the snot out of my interface, and I do this stuff a lot. So like I have a button up here for rasterize. So you're not normally going to have that. Why did it do that to me? No. Oh, I forgot to change. Oh, made a mistake. There we go. So we want to change this before we do that from monochrome to color. Otherwise, these colors won't pick up. I'm going to make sure that layer's set to color. Now we're going to rasterize it. There we go. Then I'm going to add another. Let's call this layer effects. And then this layer is going to be glow. Okay. And just like the layer says, I'm going to change this layer to an add glow type. And let's go in here. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but a quick one is just take a very soft brush and a fairly bright color and literally just, you can just paint. Let's turn that density way down. So here I'm just going to paint over that. Try and make sure I don't completely lose all of my lines. And then we can also use that to come in here, and you can see how that causes that glow. So I'm going to go through all the steam with that. And let's select both of these, right click, create folder. We'll set the folder to through, and that lets any kind of neat layer effects and blending layers and things like that come through. I'm going to name this FX. You can see it with it off, you can see it with it on. So then now I want to warm some of this up with some lamp light, but I'm going to keep it pretty close to my whole sepia color scheme. And we're going to come in here and let's see here now. So there you can see how you can see how that, it doesn't get rid of my ink lines, but it really lets the light play out through them. So this is a great place to add like a little bloom around some stuff. A little extra highlighting. The radio is fairly important in this scene. I remember that. And we could go in and add like some little stuff. You don't want to over render, but sometimes you just some little pops of light on things like the edges of things will help bring it all alive. I definitely want to build up some of that light coming in through here. Then I could control click on that mask here that I made earlier, and we're going to invert that selection, and then I can come in here and essentially just erase things that I don't want to bleed outside of those panel borders. Some of it I kind of do, like some of it I like the way it looks, some of it I don't. So it just varies. Now then, I want to come in here with some of this. There we go. And let's turn up that density a little bit. There we go. We got some nice lighting going on there. Okay. Add some little glints here and there to pop some of this out. And let's turn that down. Down maybe a little too far there. Okay. And I am liking the way this is coming together. So now, since I was going for kind of a sepia tone thing, which is really fun because I don't have to, I'm worried more about tone than I am color. So, I can come in here and like I want to keep her dark right here and not overdo it with all the glows and stuff. But then let's come in here and do just a little bit of a bloom around her edge. So, and this is kind of me borrowing from some anime influence with colors, because if you watch some anime, there's a lot of edge bloom used pretty much everywhere. Makes for a good way to highlight some stuff. So there's that. And All right. And let's see where we're at right about now. We can use this to render this a little more. Yeah, let's come in here and brighten that up a touch. Brighten some of that up. And in a dark nighttime sort of environment, a lot of times I like using this kind of stuff to wash things out. So then I think the last thing that I want to look at is I think I have a layer in here for the rain. Yes, I do. So I'm going to duplicate that layer and I'll move a copy of that up here into my effects. And then I'm going to change that to color. Okay, and then let's, oh, I didn't realize there was some of that in there. That's okay. I'll just come in here and erase those bits out. There we go. And then I'm going to turn its lines to, yeah, something bright like that. And anything else I want to do with that? Don't want to add anything to it. Yeah, if I add this border effect onto that, you can see we're getting this kind of controlled glow around there, which is kind of cool, but I'm going to do that to a copy of the layer. So we're going to duplicate that layer. Let's rasterize the original one. Now let's take this guy right here, and I'm going to add some of that around it. Now we're going to rasterize that layer. And right now it's kind of blowing things out a little bit. So I'm going to take my lasso, select these areas, and come to my quick effects. Let's go to my Gaussian blur. Actually, let's do a motion blur. And then set that distance. And then look at the angle. And try to get the angle to sort of roughly match the direction the rain's going in and some of it. Nah, that's I don't like that. Let's grab that Gaussian blur.
Lou has a question for you.
Yeah.
She wants to know if you're using an assigned color palette for this comic, or are you selecting colors as you go?
That's the color palette on this is all up to me.
What's up, Billy Power Max? I didn't see you slide in, bro. What's happening?
All right. So I'm going to bring the opacity on that glow from the rain way down. There we go. And I'm going to play around for a second with adding some noise into this with a spattery sort of particly sort of brush. And I don't want my opacity to be affected by that. Not sure how I'm feeling about that. Let's turn these particle sizes down. Okay, yeah, that's much better. So that's allowing us to get kind of some noise introduced into there. And it's subtle. It might not even show up well on the screen, but I really like that. And I'm going to say that that is basically done, which 104, that's an hour in. That's about right. And there you have this page flatted, clown mapped, colored, and rendered. Booyah.
Looks wonderful.
Thank you.
Man, we had a bunch of people talking over there. Bro, it was pretty cool. Man. A whole bunch of good people over there. Cool. I could go down the list and say everybody's name, but you were on a roll. You were telling what you were doing, and I just didn't want to be like interrupting you for a 5-minute list of awesome people. And yes, they're all out. They're all
well,
awesome.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the folks watching and supporting the channel. So that's pretty awesome.
Definitely. Good time. No. I'll probably play a couple of ads on the way out. Is there anything you wanted to bump?
Not at the moment. I'm kind of heads down work on a bunch of stuff. I took account of it yesterday, and I think at the moment I'm actively involved in production on like 5 different books at the moment. So yeah, it's wild, dude. It's really wild right now, the amount of stuff that I'm doing.
And you got me over here going, hey, man, this guy wants to talk to you.
Hey, that's a good problem to have. I'm happy to have it. So
yeah, hell yeah. Keep up the good work, my friend. I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in today, tuned into the chat. We appreciate you all. And hell, we'll be back later tonight. We got First Impressions and Silverline, and you know how it is. Every day we got stuff.
Oh yeah.
Indie creatives tonight. Just one cool show after another. Just, stick to the madness, bro. We're gonna keep bringing you cool stuff. That's it.
All right, folks. Well, on that note, I'm going to say, Pop, take us out.
All right. We're going to drop some ads on you, and we're going to be out of here. Peace, everybody.
Till next week, folks.
In a world where sequels and prequels and derivative slop rule the TV and movie landscape, one magazine dares to make fun of them all. One mag to roast them all. One mag to troll them. One mag to break their balls. And in the ratings, roll them.
Cut!
I'll tell you, I'm at Steel City Comic Con. You're watching me at Madness Comic Network. What a crowd.
Love it.
It all comes down to this multiverse. I mean, at the end of the day, you can do the multiverse bit really simple. All you got to do is isolate the frequency.
I had a nice, normal job until I started doing this, and now I have to just sit here and listen to him go on and on and on about multiverses. Multiverse this, multiverse that. It has nothing to do with what we're even talking about. I'm kind of hungry now. I wasn't even hungry when he started talking. That's how long he's been goddamn talking. I mean, the entire point of the episode was to be talking about horror movie theories, and here he is, multiverses. God almighty. You know this is supposed to be about horror movie theories, yeah? Remember?
Okay, I kind of forgot about that. But you know what I'm on about, though, right?
No, not remotely. Join myself and the kids this Sunday on American Horrors, 8:30 p.m. CST, and whatever that equates to is GMT, so we're going to be talking about some of the weirdest horror movie theories that we've come across. And if they're true or possible or plausible. And if they are, we like them. And if we don't, we'll let you know. American Horrors.
If you missed the live viewing of any Madness Entertainment Group production, you can find all our content on Roku or as a member of this channel. We'll see you next time on the Madness Entertainment Group.